Laptop computer spins onto the screen, opens, and displays ATP Education Program webinar series, closes, and then spins off the screen.
Hi, welcome to Social Stories, Narratives, Scripts, and Power Cards. I'm Buti. I've been in the field of disabilities for over 31 years. I was a special education teacher, an autism itinerant, and a special education administrator. I was the director of autism and intellectual disabilities for Chicago Public Schools. I'm now the proud owner of AIEPA, which stands for Advocate and Instructional Expert for People with Autism. Let's get started. When we think about autism, we know that it's a developmental disability that significantly affects verbal and nonverbal communication and social interaction. It involves engagement in repetitive activities or stereotyped movements. Some experience resistance to environmental change or change in the daily routine. And some have unusual responses to sensory experiences. Today, we're really going to focus on a strategy called social stories or social narratives. Social stories is a trademark intervention by Carol Gray that fits within the social narratives category of an evidence-based strategy. And as an administrator, woo-hoo-hoo, we love evidence-based strategies because that's what we should be using when we're educating our students. So these are also their tools for teaching social skills or social behaviors. It's when it describes a situation by providing the relevant cues, explanation of feelings and thoughts of others, and describes behavioral expectations. So also in that umbrella is these scripts or power cards. So we'll address them all. This is a quote by Carol Gray. Social stories address social confusion by requiring the parent or the paraprofessional to first stop and consider a situation from the perspective of the child or adult with ASD. And then second, identify and share the information that may be missing within this story, okay? So these narratives and stories and scripts, they need to provide accurate information about a situation that may be difficult or confusing for a student. Describe the situations, the social cues, and what is expected of them and why. It's going to help increase the understanding and the comfort level and give those appropriate responses. Helps understand theory of mind, right? Understanding how other people might think about something or the other people's feelings or reactions or expectations. And you want to write this in first person or present tense. So these can be used to address behavioral difficulties, teaching social skills, and promoting effective and appropriate communication, because it provides that kind of script of here's what we say when we say it. So you're going to start with that target behavior or that target area. You're going to state the story in a very positive, clear, concise manner, using words that the student's familiar with, the kind of language that they hear in the classroom and in the school. More likely than not, you're going to provide some additional visual supports along with the story. And some even want some additional auditory or video. So you can create these stories, scripts, and whatnot in like a PowerPoint format, and you can embed videos or sound. So some different ways to like adapt them or some options. You're always going to want to script out what you want or you think the student might want to say. You script out what the student and the other person involved in the interaction would say. You're going to practice it, rehearse it with the student. That's key because how it works is the child will read it or you'll read it to the child often, kind of rehearsing it so they can kind of memorize the script and the appropriate behaviors and situations. If you know exactly when the situation might occur. Like if you're writing a social story for, say, lunchtime, then you would maybe read it right before lunchtime. But the whole objective is that they kind of memorize this. This is what I'm supposed to do, and this is why. I've had success with writing repetitive lines into the story. The kind of that one thing you always want them to do kind of is repetitive throughout the story. You can use the pre-printed ones by Carol Gray. I always say that oftentimes it really needs to be individualized for our students. So I like to create my own. But I think no matter which ones you use, you want to make sure it's that first person, present tense, information filled, positive language. That's typically how they would be written. So a simple example, when the bell rings, when recess is finished, the children stand in a line by the door. They wait for the teacher to come. When the bell rings, I will try to stop what I am doing. I will stand in line. I will wait for my teacher. My teacher will be happy to see all the children in line. So you can have one sentence per line and embed a visual picture of which each sentence looks like, right? If that's what the student needs to process this information. So this would be something maybe they would read, okay, let's read our social stories before we go out to recess. So it's fresh in their head, right? You could do something like this one as well. My name is John. I'm going to move my little picture. We have circle time at school. The kids sit on the carpet with the teacher. The kids sit and watch the teacher. Sometimes we sing and read at circle time. I will sit on the carpet with my friends at circle time. I will look at the teacher in circle time. My teacher is happy when I sit in circle time. I love to do this memo format, I call it. So when my students are getting older and I'm working with kids in middle school and high school, I do it much like a memo, just like a memo format like this. So I would write the social story in the memo, and I actually call it a memo. It's more age appropriate. I think if you're in high school, I might be like, get out your social story. So I say, oh, let's read over our memos. Okay, so that's a great strategy. You can also use comic strip conversations because they have like the speech bubbles. So you can also embed what the person is thinking, right? The thought bubbles and the speech bubbles. So when we talk about theory of mind, these can be really helpful with that. So if you're going through the social story, when this happens, but then you have your teacher with the thought bubble that says, I'm so happy to see that you're sitting in circle time. You can do facial expressions as well, which is really nice. So here's some free comic strip creator programs, websites. But it's really nice because, like I said, the facial expression, the thinking thoughts, the saying thoughts. So it's very similar, except it has that little kind of extra added rather than just the words or the words and pictures. So there's a strategy called power cards. So when you think about your students, think about if they have some special interest that's a person or a superhero or an actor. I mean, heck, it might even be you, the teacher. You might be their special someone. It might be their mom. It might be, Superman. It might be the Hulk. And what you basically do, and there's a book on these, but again, I'm all about individualizing, right? So you take their superhero or their super important person, and you have them doing the behaviors or the things you want them to be doing. So, and it could be small, just like a little index card, and just simple to the point, but it's that person doing what it is you want to do. So I'm thinking, how can I demonstrate this? Let me show you what it would look like if like I needed a power card. Say it might look something like this. My special interest might be Justin Timberlake. And my power card might say, when Justin Timberlake wants to say hello, he waves and says hello. Justin does not touch someone when he says hello. Justin uses a quiet voice when he says hello. So if my special interest is Justin and I had issues with maybe screaming, hey, and hugging people and talking too loud, this would be a perfect power card for me. Okay. So before we actually get to final thoughts, I just want to show you some and talk about some really other ways of some social stories. So for example, it doesn't have to have a ton of information. It's what works for your students. So I would love to show you like a really simple one. This was great. This was for a boy who always needed to be the first one, or the one who was the teacher helper, the first in line and all that. So the class ended up coming up with this little story for him. He was in kindergarten. And it does have some photos, but it's very simple. When I don't get my way, I say, that's okay, another day. This simply got him over the hump so many times. If he didn't get to be the morning circle teacher helper, boop, she just handed this to him. He read it and he moved on. I have a really cool social story that a teacher made where she used real photos. So she had photos of themselves in the social story, but she also used some writing with symbols here at the bottom. Okay, so again, it's very it's very individualized. It's very important that we individualize our social stories. I have one about it's okay to make a mistake social story. So this one is using some board maker pictures. If I make a mistake on my work, it is all right. Everyone makes mistakes. After making a mistake, I can go back and fix my mistake. If I make the same mistake again, I can go back until I get it right. Everyone makes mistakes. That's okay. That's how I learn, and that's how others learn too. You see, they're very individualized. So ties me into my final thoughts, right? So final thoughts, make sure you're individualizing them. Use the student's interest whenever possible. Read it and have the student read it often, or right before the known situation. So remember, the whole idea is that they memorize this script and then they act upon it, right? So really practice it. And if the student can't read it, you read it to the student. Maybe it's a PowerPoint one, like I said earlier. So then the PowerPoint might have it reading out loud so that no one has to read it to them, that they can just press enter, or maybe it's recorded. But those are my final thoughts. So thanks for coming. Hope you had fun. My name is Mo Buti at mobuti@hotmail.com. Check out my website. Have a great day.
Thank you for watching. For more information on the ATP education program, please visit our website at atp.nebraska.gov/education or email us at atp.education@nebraska.gov.